This is Distance from Center. I'm Horton, and that is
Trent.
And we're back. The ski season is just about to get interesting, at least the pro level. Trent, what's on your mind?
Well, I mean, finally, pro skiing's back.
Well, yeah,
And it's better than ever. Just kidding.
yeah,
But no, I mean, there were some events last year, but I mean, this first event, that Swiss, like that's always been a like kind of a precursor to Masters, and it's a really that one's always just fun to watch. And I know it's one of the I guess smaller events, if you will, but it's heavily attended. And the skiing's always good. It's really cool to just kind of see this is everyone's sort of first kicking off point. It's cool to see where everyone stacks up.
So let me clarify what you just said. It is dollar-wise, prize money-wise, one of the smaller ones. But like you said, attendance-wise, it's huge. I mean, I think it's an indicator of the season, right? It's the official kickoff of the year, and it's exciting.
Yep.
So, the Swiss Pro this Sunday, I think it's a one-day event, just this Sunday, May 2nd, will be the inaugural event of the new, let me make sure I get the name right, it's just the Waterski Pro Tour. New, I don't know, do we call this a new organization, or is it a new point structure? What's your understanding?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's really just a sort of structural umbrella to get all the. It's a way of connecting all these different private events. So it's a way of even though the majority of these pro events are funded separately. So it's not a consolidated tour in that regard, but it's a consolidated tour in that there's sort of one almost a governing body over it. I mean, it's still the same, the same IWSF rules and sanctions and all that, but it's just a way of unifying everything. The point system, while very, very similar to how it was in the past, I think the biggest thing I learned the other day is that it's more of a whole point system. So it's just a little cleaner, a little tidier. It's not really going to change. It's not really going to change, where people stack up or anything like that. It's not a complete rewrite of the point system, but it's bringing everything together. And I think probably the best thing for the average person, what is going to be the most evident and the most appealing, is that there's going to be one central home website that's going to have everything. So, we're not going to be hunting, chasing, picking, pleading for results and trying to find out where to find them. Results. Let's go athletes, schedules, results, and webcasts all at one place. And do you know where that place is? The actual domain?
It is, I believe. I think it's waterskiprotour.com, but I've got the paperwork right here. Now I'm scrambling.
Yeah.
So we should know that, shouldn't we? It is. Jeez, where's the URL? You'd think we'd be prepared. So Yes, let's just say it's Waterski Pro Tour, and if it isn't, I will correct it when I publish this. So,
yep.
So let me reframe, because I think I jumped into this a little bit awkwardly. Let's just clarify. This is really exciting. This is a marketing effort. The point of this effort is for everybody at home to always know when the next pro event is, make it easier to pay attention to it, to catch the webcast, to be part of this tour. Every tournament must have a webcast. Some of them are going
to... Okay, cool. Very cool.
Some of them are going to be fantastic. Some of them are going to be a Waterski Broadcast Company, which is the gold standard now. Some of them might be a little bit homespun. Not the best, but the folks at home will always be able to watch, and they're always going to be able to know when the events are. I'm going to do my best on Ball of Spray to hit everybody over the head with this stuff too. So you will know when the events are. You'll have the URL to the webcast. The points as of tonight, right? I mean, whatever today is, right? When the tournament is, you will know immediately. So you can follow these athletes just like you would, if you're a fan of racing or golf or curling. I know the curling tour is huge for you, Trent.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is about making water ski, making the pros more accessible, or more accurately, to make it easier to be a fan of the sport. Because when we all have the opportunity, I think most of us are going to watch, and this is compelling, and this is just good for the whole sport.
Yes, I know. I think so. And it was, and the cool thing is it's an effort by a handful of the top skiers in the world, and a few select industry people, and it's these are people with with a vested interest, and they're just kind of taking control of things a little bit. So just for clarification, I know you're more familiar with what this really entails. So I know it's going to be a new name, but the IWSF, what was formerly called the Elite Points, those are still in place.
These
meaning like, just to be clear, meaning that like an amateur unpaid event such as the Worlds is still going to be on this list. Yes,
that's a good question, and I don't believe
you hate that
so.
I just did that, don't you?
I really hate that you busted me.
Interesting.
I don't believe so. So these points, the Waterski Pro Tour points.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
The Waterski Pro Tour points basically replace the Elite points. They're basically renaming it. I suppose
Cool.
International still owns this. The world championships.
No longer on that list.
I didn't. I'm gonna have to make a phone call, and we'll have to cover that. I don't know. I hope not.
And then so in a similar question, like let's say that someone, we'll just say somewhere in Canada, decides that they're going to put on a pro event, but they're not going to do webcasts. So then that means they're going to be left off this points list.
Correct.
And does that mean like they're going to be left off every points list? Meaning, like I know this is somewhat a reflection of the IWSF list, formerly known as the Elite, the Elite point list. So IWSF has sort of accepted this proposal that if there's no webcast, this is not going on our point system.
Correct. That is my understanding. Is that
really cool?
Is that Elite points must fit this criteria? So they must have a webcast. Cool. They must have live web scoring. They must have bibs, whatever that's worth. And they must use boat path monitoring systems. So those are the criteria.
Well done.
So it has to be
well done.
It has to be at a high level, and it's a couple of things. You can't have I don't think you could have a points event in Australia right now. I say Australia because their borders are closed because we're still under COVID. So all the Australian athletes couldn't go to a tournament with a big cash prize, get a bunch of points, because skiers from the rest of the country can't get there. Now, presumably, all the athletes that live in Florida of whatever their national origin will be able to get to Spain and France this summer. So when those pro events happen and the athletes have the opportunity to get there, those will be points events. But what I'm saying is you can't have some backyard event block out either politically or intentionally block out athletes from part of the world and then reap a bunch of points. It has to be open globally.
Interesting. I mean, I conceptually I get what you're saying. It's not necessarily accurate. I mean, the Australian Open happened in tennis this year.
Right, but
just I mean, devil's advocate, just talking about that specific example. Like, I wonder how that's worded because, because to be fair, Americans can go to Australia right now. There's the quarantine. The quarantine commitments are pretty stout.
It's as I understand, you have to spend 2 weeks in a government stipulated hotel.
Yeah,
and you got to pay that bill.
Again, like the Australian Open of tennis did happen. Like, and these people, they did take those measures.
Wow.
But I mean, I know that's conceptually that's probably a worthwhile rule. I'm trying to think of how it really applies to real world. But
I'm under the impression that if Moomba happened this year, they would not have been a points event because it is impractical for the rest of the world to get there.
There, that's better. Yeah, I'm a semantics guy. Okay, right. I'm with you. Right. We're on the same page again.
Yeah. And they're doing cool stuff like so they have star ratings. I'm not going to bore you with how many dollars for each star, but for how many more as your dollar amount goes up, the star rating goes up, and as the star rating goes up, the points for placement go up proportionally, right? So if there's 20 grand in prize money, then it's, I'm making this up. There's 50 points for first place. That's not the actual number. I just made it up. But where I'm going is they did something cool where they said, if you have money for men and women both, your star rating goes up. In other words, the tournament becomes more prestigious and more interesting. So they're really trying to encourage men's and women's in all the events, which I think is interesting.
And is that something that did not exist on the IWSF's previous version of these points?
No. I don't believe that in the previous version that just the inclusion of men's and women's meant more points for the individual. So again, cool. Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So still, obviously, still a few questions, but right. But regardless, just to have everything kind of. Because just for the last 10 years, like these, when these events all went private, they were just a little bit like the feeling of scattershot. So
right.
Just kind of, even though it is the same events, bringing them all in together and having a kind of a cohesiveness, I think is super, super important. If, and again, for the average fan of water skiing, myself included, just having one place to go to get the information that we're craving come Saturday and Sunday
right.
During the summer is going to be a breath of fresh air.
Right. Awesome. So I'm excited about Swiss Pro. It's out on the West Coast. I think the first person goes off the dock Sunday at like 4 a.m. or something ridiculous my time. I might miss that first skier, but besides that, I think this is going to be a great trial run for the tour, and I'm excited. And then the following 3 weekends, presumably, pretty sure no webcast, but we've got those 3 qualifiers for Masters, if you like them or not. It's irrelevant. I know that's been
we'll talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that next week. But what I'm saying is, and then we go to Masters. So the next 4 weekends, if it's not on webcast, at least there's something to pay attention to. If you're a fan of water skiing, it starts this Sunday. It's on. Let's go.
What a time to be alive, John.
All right. Anything else? Anything you need to promote?
No. That's it. We're gonna, now that we we're kind of getting to the swing of things. Like John said, 4 weekends in a row. So we're gonna be, we'll be back. Watch the webcast. Watch these guys do their thing. These girls do their thing. We'll be back next week to sort of wrap up or sort of reiterate what happened on the weekend, because it's gonna be exciting. Yeah, there's a lot of potential storylines.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Trent.